Let's go! Let's get it, man. Welcome back to Four Wolves Takes for your boy. Artis Woods will bring you 4 fresh Minnesota Timberwolves takes. Man, it's a pleasure to be back. I appreciate the applause. Nothing but love, man. It's been a little minute. Everybody could, take your seats. It's been a little minute. Last time I spoke with you guys, I told y'all your boy was walking off, running off, jogging off, sprinting off to go get married. And that's exactly what your boy did. I appreciate the congratulations in the comment section. I made sure I went through and I liked every last one of them. I appreciate the love. My wife appreciates the love. It is nothing but love between us to you guys. And it was a beautiful wedding. I'm not going to take too long talking about it. It was a beautiful wedding. It was spectacular. It was everything that we both envisioned for it to be. And I'm excited to embark on marriage. Let's just put it like that, man. I'm excited to embark on marriage. But so much has happened for the Wolves and in basketball since then. I mean, the preseason is underway. Media day is come and gone. Big trade. I mean, how about that? A huge trade in the basketball community, a huge trade in the NBA that involves the Knicks and the Timberwolves occurred while I was away. And y'all know I got to get into all of it. Y'all know I got to talk about all of it. Without further ado, man, let's get to the first take of the day. Karl-Anthony Towns, man, he deserves his flowers. Whether you loved Karl-Anthony Towns or you couldn't stand Karl-Anthony Towns as a basketball player. And there is a good amount of people on both sides in Minnesota. I've talked to people that loved him, talked to people who I cannot stand Cat on the court sometimes. One cannot deny he is one of the greatest Minnesota Timberwolves to ever play. He just is. Probably top 2. One of the best to lace him up in the state of Minnesota, in the city of Minneapolis. The man averaged 23 and 11 in his career with the Wolves. Drafted in 2015. Won NBA Rookie of the Year. 4-time All-Star. 2-time All-NBA player. Also won a 3-point contest, which I'm not going to lie, that year he won, I was shocked. I didn't think he would. I forgot who I picked to win that year. But it wasn't Cat. And Cat came through and lit it up. For him to be a number 1 overall draft pick, we've seen a lot of busts. We've seen a lot of players get drafted number 1 or high in the draft in general and not pan out and not be who people expect them to be. And Karl-Anthony Towns, while some would debate his ceiling and how great he could have been, you can't say the man was a bust. You can't say the man was a, complete liability. You can't say it was a wasted draft pick. What he meant for the Wolves on the basketball floor, what he meant for the community, it can't be understated. I never met Karl-Anthony Towns in person, but from what I have heard, great locker room guy, great teammate, right? Again, great person within the community, really connected with the fans, the adults, the kids, the teens, connected with everybody on a different level in his time here in Minnesota. And one thing I don't think people talk about enough, as Anthony Edwards started to ascend, Karl-Anthony Towns could have given a lot of pushback. Hey, I've been here for the longest. This is my city. This is my team. I'm not trying to pass that baton. No, we watched Karl-Anthony Towns willingly allow Anthony Edwards to ascend as a ball player and give him the baton. Hey, it's your team. You the face of the league. We saw that, right? We saw Naz Reid ascend and be a 6th man of the year. We saw Karl-Anthony Towns, give him his credit. Give him his flowers. Hey, do your thing. He did not get in the way like we've seen other stars in the past. He did not get in the way of other stars' progression with this team. He did not allow his ego to block the trajectory of this team and of players on this team. And that cannot be understated. The Wolves do not get to the Western Conference Finals without Karl-Anthony Towns. They do not get to the Western Conference Finals without Karl-Anthony Towns. Offensive firepower, 3-point shot, defense against Jokic cannot be understated. Defense throughout he guarded KD. Defense throughout the entire playoff run. It cannot be understated what he meant. He didn't have the greatest Western Conference Finals showing, but First round, second round, he played great basketball. When the team needed him most in Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, when guys were off, he was on. So he deserves immense credit, not only for what he's done in the community as just being a great human being and a great person. He deserves immense credit for being a very good basketball player, a great basketball player. And yes, I think at times we have all wanted more from Karl-Anthony Towns. We have all had our moments where it's like, come on, Cat. Come on, man. But at the end of the day, I think we hang our hat on the man tried his best. I don't think he cheated us effort. I don't think he cheated us, with his passion. I don't think he cheated the fans. I think he gave it his all. And again, 23 and 11 ain't nothing to sneeze at. It's hard to get 23 points and 11 rebounds throughout a career. How many players in history have done that? Not a ton. Just saying, man, Karl-Anthony Towns deserves his flowers. I'll get into what I feel about the trade in my next take, right? But for now, again, man, let's just get another round of applause. This time not for me or for Four Wolves Takes, but let's get it for Cat, man. Let's. He deserves it, man. He deserves it. He honestly deserves it. All right. Now, take number 2. I got to get to how I feel about this trade. Take number 2. This trade works for both teams. I believe this trade works for both teams. Yes, I said it. I hear a lot of people, I think it worked better for the Wolves, or, I think it worked better for the Knicks. I think it worked. Listen, I think it works for both teams, right? I'll start with the Knicks because I'm going to obviously spend most of my time talking about the Wolves. But as far as the Knicks are concerned, you get a player who has a bit more playoff experience, a guy who has now been to the Western Conference Finals, a guy that has shown progression as a defender, a very good three-point shooter, an all-star caliber player, a star. Like, Karl-Anthony Towns has games where he is a superstar. He has games where he is a star. So you get that. You pair that alongside Brunson and Mikal Bridges. You got a team. You still got Josh Hart. You have some nice pieces there. You have some nice pieces there in New York that can really contend in the Eastern Conference, where you might have to deal with a Porzingis. You might have to deal with an Evan Mobley. You probably have to deal with an Embiid. He's a guy that can kind of, I won't say shut guys down, but he's a guy that can make guys' jobs difficult, right? I think this is a really good piece for them to have. I still think they have enough depth to compete at the highest level in the Eastern Conference. So even though them losing Dante DiVincenzo hurts, I still think adding Karl-Anthony Towns kind of nullifies that. And I think they will be a team in the Eastern Conference Finals that you gotta contend with. You gotta be ready for. I think that this move may help push them to Eastern Conference Finals. Hey, I'm not saying they can take out the Celtics. I'm not gonna take it that far, but I think they're undeniably in the mix. They were the number 2 seed last year in the East. I think this move makes them better ultimately. Then when you get to the Wolves, listen, Julius Randle is a big-time player in this league. Julius Randle is a big-time player in this league. This man, let's pull the numbers up really quick. Julius Randle, last 2 years, has averaged nothing less than 24 points a game. 10 rebounds last year, 9 rebounds this past year. Now, he missed a ton of time this past year, only played 46 games, didn't play in the playoffs. But 5 assists this year, 4 assists the year before, 5 the year before that, 6 the year before that. So he can facilitate the basketball. He's not afraid to pass the basketball, right? He's a physical guy. I think his post game is gonna, one thing on the Cat note, one thing I was a little frustrated with when it came to Cat in the playoffs this past year is at times I think he was a little too reliant on a three-point shot. Julius Randle is not the three-point shooter that Cat is. We all know this. He's a very streaky three-point shooter, but he can go down to the block, ISO up, fine, take it to the middle of the floor, hook shot over the top, dunk on somebody, athletic layup under the basket. He's got a bevy of different moves at that low block or at that elbow that he goes to get his shots off. And I think as a post player, I think he's got a bit of a better bag than Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he does. As an ISO player, I think he's more controlled. I think he knows what he's going to do before he's going to do it a little better than Karl-Anthony Towns does. And I think that helps. And so in losing Cat, you still do get a guy who can obviously put the ball in the hole, who can rebound, who can play make, and facilitate the guys when they're open. You got Anthony Edwards you got to worry about. And Jalen Brunson is nice. Anthony Edwards is a different monster. So I think some of that load to be taken off of Julius Randle to carry as much as he did, given the team that is surrounding him right now. So I like that. The only question I have about Julius Randle is the postseason. In the postseason, Julius Randle statistically has not been the same player. But for now, I'm going to look past that because this is a new team, and sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Sometimes you need a change of scenery. You need a different coach. You need different teammates. They will need him to be better in the playoffs than he has been the 2 times we've seen him in the playoffs, undeniably. They will need him to be better. But I'm going to bank on him being better. Dante DiVincenzo, boy, oh boy. Dante, last year, a career year in points scored, 15 a game, actually 16 a game because we round up for Wolves players. 16 a game, a career high in 3-point percentage, 40.1. Dante is a very interesting player in this trade. Dante, I believe, can defend. He's smart. He's a scrappy player. I like what he brings to the table. He knows how to cut. He knows how to play make. He knows how to hustle. He does the dirty work on top of shooting threes, coming off screens and making plays. I think at times you could even put him on the ball a bit. Not a ton, but I think you could put him on the ball a bit and allow him to ball handle a little bit as well. But the thing I want to talk about most when it comes to Dante DiVincenzo is not even the 3-point shooting. It is his most recent playoff run. Dante DiVincenzo, in the first round against Philadelphia, game 2, 19 points. Game 6, 23 points. They beat Philadelphia. In the second round against Indiana, this is a series that they lost in 7 games. Game 1, 25 points. Game 2, 28 points. Game 3, 35 points. Game 7, 39 points. Dante has these capabilities of just going nuclear out of the blue. And how many times did we look at the Wolves this past season in the playoffs and say, if we could just get a little bit more from this player in this moment, or a little bit more from this player in this moment. And is off today. Cat is off today. Who's going to be that other guy? Nas might be off. Who's going to be that other guy? Dante can be that other guy where he just randomly explodes for 25, 30 points, a nice 19, 20 points here and there, and kind of carries you over the top. I think he's clutch, a big shot taker, and a big shot maker. And he brings that element of 3-point shooting off the bench. I feel like the Wolves truly need it. And you look at these lineups that the Wolves can put out there. I mean, the starting lineup, we kind of already know what that's going to look like. We got Mike Conley, we got Ant, we got Jaden McDaniels, we got Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. But bench, man, you got some options. Can't forget you got Rob Dillingham. Can't forget you got Terrence Shannon Jr. Can't forget you still have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who can defend, who can at times be a really streaky shooter. Now you have Dante DiVincenzo. You already have Joe Ingles, who you picked up this free agency, and you have Naz Reid. Speaking of Naz Reid, before I get to my next take, this trade allows Naz Reid to do exactly what I said he would do. I believe it was last episode of 4 Wolves Takes or the episode before that, where I said he is going to take that step as a scorer. I see Naz Reid averaging 19 to 20 points a game this year. I think he's going to take that. I think he's going to, let's just say, all right, let me be a little more modest. Let's say 17 to 20. 17 to 20 points a game for Naz Reid this year. I think he's going to take that type of step because I believe the type of lineups we're going to see is going to give him the opportunity to be more of a scorer. He's going to have opportunities to be that guy. I think Julius Randle's minutes will be dialed back a touch because, he played a ton of minutes out there in New York. I think you dial back his minutes a touch and you bring in now Naz Reid, a guy who we saw come in place of Cat when Cat was injured last season and play sensational, win 6th Man of the Year. Now you give him the opportunity to play even more, close some games, play more big time minutes. I think his game takes another step this offseason. And so, or going into this season, which, is the offseason. So I think this trade helps the Wolves in a number of different ways. I haven't even talked about the draft pick. That is what it's going to be. But I think this trade helps the Wolves when it comes to depth. I think it helps the Wolves be a little bit more physical. Again, I am nervous about Julius Randle's defense against guys like Jokic if you have to see guys like Jokic, right? But he's the only guy you really worry about in the paint in the West. Like, I don't worry about any other big, maybe Anthony Davis. I don't worry about any other dominant big like that in the paint in the Western Conference. So who knows? You might not even see them. And even if you see them, you may still have enough to take those guys out. I'm not sure how the Russell Westbrook trade is going to, or pickup is going to work for them. I'm not confident in that. And so I think this works out for both parties. I think the Knicks will be better, and I think the Wolves will also be better from this trade. Take number 3. This cannot be understated. This cannot be undersold. This is a big thing, y'all. And learning from Steph was huge this offseason. And learning from Steph was huge this offseason. That right there is not the reckless speculation sound. On this version of Four Wolves Takes, that is the sound of my mind exploding when I heard Anthony Edwards say at Media Day, I learned a lot from players. You know, I took LeBron's pregame rituals and things of that nature. But the biggest thing I may have learned is off-ball play from Steph Curry. Oh my goodness. That is huge. This is something that I spent a lot of time talking about this past season. A lot of time. I'm like, if Anthony Edwards could play more off ball. This is why you bring in a guy like Rob Dillingham. This is why you allow Mike Conley to run the offense. This is why, you know, maybe sometimes you put the ball in guys like Dante DiVincenzo's hands or even Nickeil Alexander-Walker's hands to bring the ball up. This is why Anthony Edwards talked about in these scrimmages, learning from Steph, he's playing off ball, getting wide open looks, you know, getting jump shots, cutting backdoor to the basket. How many times did I watch in the playoffs and say, man, if Anthony Edwards could just play off ball a little bit more, come from in front of the defense, play behind the defense, he will be even more effective. This is perfect. And not only did you learn how to play off ball better than you already have, you learned from probably, debatably, arguably the greatest off ball player we've ever seen in Steph Curry. It's a conversation. You can bring up guys like Rip Hamilton, other guys, you know, Reggie Miller, maybe Ray Allen. You can bring up a lot of different guys. A lot of different guys belong in that conversation. A lot of shooters belong in that conversation. But Steph is constantly moving without the basketball in his hands. And for him to observe Steph, learn and take tools from Steph, keys from Steph, I'm shocked Steph even told him anything. These guys are competitors. I know they wanted to win gold, but it's like, I don't know if I should tell you this. This will help Anthony Edwards' game catapult. I'm telling y'all, look at Kobe Bryant's tape in the number 24. How often was he off ball? How often did Derek Fisher bring the ball up and he just caught the ball at the elbow, made a move, got to his jab step, maybe his, you know, dribble pull up, attack the basket. You know, Kobe had a bevy of different moves, but how many times was he off ball? When you watch Kevin Durant, how many times is he off ball, just running down court, getting to the low block, getting to that mid-range area and looking to score? Again, we already brought up Steph. How many times throughout a game is he off ball? A huge chunk of his offensive production is off ball. Now, that's not to say you completely take Anthony Edwards off the ball. There are times where Anthony Edwards needs the ball in his hands and, you know, allow defenses to adjust to him. He finds the open guys like Dante DiVincenzo, right? So that's not to say you completely take him off the ball for an extended period of time, but in spurts, allow someone else to run this offense and allow Anthony Edwards to play behind the defense. And now you have shooters and guys that can really help space the floor and help Anthony Edwards really kind of hide almost, as crazy as it sounds, on that side of the ball on offense. Yo, that's going to be huge this year. Mark my words. If he learned from Steph, that is going to be massive this year. Massive. Last take of the day. I got a hot one for y'all. I got a bit of a hot one for y'all. I'm not going to lie. I got a bit of a hot one as I put this up on the screen. It's a little hot. The Wolves will win 60 games this year. Yes, I said it. I believe the Wolves will win 60 games this season. I think they have the team to do it. I think they have the depth to do it. I think they have the coaching staff to do it. I think they have the superstar talent to do it, because a team like the Wolves, a young team getting to the Western Conference Finals, you know how many lessons Naz Reid learned? How many lessons Anthony Edwards learned, not only from that run, but from the Olympics? You know how much these young guys, Jaden McDaniels, learned from that type of experience, how to train in the offseason, how to, attack certain defenses, what defenses are going to throw at them at the absolute highest level, what they have to throw at offenses, how they have to defend certain teams. They learned a ton. There's no greater teacher than experience sometimes. Sometimes you got to throw somebody in the fire and hope they find some water. I don't know. Throw somebody in the pool, hope they figure out how to swim. Sometimes you just got to do that. I'm not recommending that you do that. Just saying. Sometimes that experience is the greatest teacher. And Anthony Edwards already said himself, I didn't really know what to expect at that level. Now I do. And now I am more prepared going forward in the playoffs. I also think this helps you during the regular season because now you have a sense of urgency in the regular season as well to continue to try to lock up a high seed. Granted, it didn't help you much in that series against the Mavs. You dropped 2 home games, but it is always nice to go into the playoffs with the number 1 or number 2 or the number 3 seed. I'm thinking they can get the 1 seed. I think the one team that's going to push them is the Thunder. But I think with the pieces that have been added this offseason, with the trade that they just made, the draft, the swagger this team has, I think this team has the ability, the capabilities to really make something happen this regular season and going into the playoffs. Praying health over everyone, praying everyone stays healthy because that's always a concern. But I like the team that the Wolves have put together. And I think that this team, given the schedule I've seen, the schedule is not crazy daunting to me. They got some pockets where they play some really tough teams or teams that we think are going to be tough. And they got some pockets where they got some gimme games, in my opinion. And the key is going to be take care of the gimme games. Don't just give a team, no disrespect, don't just give a team like, I don't know, the Pistons a game just because we just didn't want to show up today. Or, Utah, a game in Utah because we just wasn't there mentally. Like, that has to change this year. And Anthony Edwards now being the guy. Officially, he was the guy last year, but now being the guy, right? Maybe the guy that's been on the Wolves the longest at this point. He's now that guy, the leader that has to get everybody going on a day-to-day, on a game-to-game basis, man. I like the future of this team. I like what I see. Again, I think the trade works out for both parties, and I think the Wolves will ultimately be in a greater spot from this. And again, I think Cat will be in a great spot from this as well. All right? Just my thoughts. I thank y'all, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this week's episode of 4 Wolves Takes. Man, I'm just getting started. It's a new season, and I'm back. New buttons and all, man. I appreciate y'all again. Thank y'all for everything. And congratulations to tuning in to the weekly episodes. I am back better than ever. I'll catch y'all next week.